Alright, so today we're talking about Sarah freaking Lynn from BoJack because I am obsessed. I am obsessed. So I did see the clip that takes place in the end of. Okay, so this is what I have right now. Kind of trying to work on it right now, but anyways, this is. I did see the clip that's like I sacrificed everything, like my whole life, which always makes me so sad. But I do feel like in those few sentences, they completely recontextualized her entire character because, as far as we know from what we've seen, she is kind of a victim of circumstance, a victim of her mom saying, "Oh, sweetheart, you gotta be a celebrity." Bojack telling her, "No matter what, you gotta keep going on the show." Her finding out that when Bojack came back, it wasn't because he wanted to be a genuine friend to her. It was just because he he wanted her to be on his show for his success and his fame, and her realizing that when he said to keep dancing, that's what he meant. Not that everyone would leave her, but that everyone would continue to use her for their own fame and their own success and their own money and this and that. And ugh, that scene is one of the saddest scenes in the entire show. Um, anyways. And then Diane blaming Bojack for Sarah's death is a little bit wild, but she was going through some shit. So, like, obviously, it's not. I would say it's like 25% Bojack's fault, honestly. Just because he did ask her, but she was the one that was sober. She was the one that was like supposed to be in the right state of mind, and this and that. But after seeing that, going back and rewatching the entire show, I was able to see more so how it does not go against the narrative that you can choose your own life, because she did choose that life, unfortunately. And I do feel like it was just really enlightening to me, and I do feel like she is one of my favorite characters. Obviously, Todd and Diane are high up on that list, but I would say she's like third. Um, anyways, so now let's talk about Garfield, this Franken crayon. Um, so with Garfield, her boyfriend, obviously it's fucked up that she stabbed herself. But I mean, it does. Like, ooh, that one hurt too. God damn. Um, but I mean, Diane is right. When Bojack took her in, it was, just so that he could try and heal himself, and it ultimately ended with him enabling, like her addiction and everything. And, he did send her to rehab, and that was a cute moment and everything. But there is no question he did for sure take advantage of his relationship to her, simply because to be her father figure and then to still have sex with her, whether or not it is his intention, like, it's very clear that he was taking advantage of her in that situation. Like, could she leave and go somewhere else? Yes, but at the time, she was living there with him, and it also probably helped cement the fact that, like, she uses her sex appeal later in her life to further her career, and to be of value to the people around her, even though that's not necessarily what she wanted to do, is, saying, like, I have to do this, is, like, and, like, I do feel like that is a problem with our celebrity culture, that we don't really think of celebrities as people, and kind of like the whole thing with Chappell Roan, where she was like, don't stalk me, like, do not follow me home just because I am an artist. Like, that is not within your rights to, like, go and bother me at my home. Like, obviously it's not. That's crazy. And I feel like just generally we as a society need to work towards seeing celebrities more as people and less so as kind of like idols to look up to, and just trying to like idolize them less, and recognizing that fame is not inherent to your value of work. Like, you can be an amazing artist and not make any money. Unfortunately, this is my problem. Anyways, it is sad that she wasn't able to become an architect and to pursue that dream. It is sad that, she gave in to her addiction and her disease, and that she wasn't able to use those coping mechanisms that hopefully she was taught in rehab. That being said, it is really interesting that the reason why she leans on her addiction as a crutch is because she is essentially in like a living hell, because every day she is waking up and deciding, I have to continue doing this. And it is really sad that we do kind of like think of sacrifice as a good thing too much as a society. I think we need to, which they did touch on in the show, but I do think that we need to expand that to be more of a culture of sacrifice is only good if it is for something. If it is for someone, we need to recognize that being happy and choosing your own happiness is not inherently selfish. Like, it can go too far and become selfish, but the general idea of choosing your own happiness in general should not be thought of as selfish. It should be thought of as self-care. And I do feel like as a society we are kind of going a little bit too far in the other direction, where we become a little bit antisocial and say like, oh, I'm keeping my peace, and then you keep your peace so hard that nobody's around you anymore. And that is really sad to go in the opposite direction. But I do not think that you need to sacrifice your relationships in order to have success. Like, obviously that can sometimes be the case, but at the same time, like, your partner or your friends or your family might be able to help push you towards success even more, like, and I think that's just something that we need to consider, I think, a lot of, when I watched the show the first time, I kind of did see her as someone who just didn't care that much. But after that scene, it really made me feel like, oh, she cares too much. The caring is the problem. That she cares about everyone else so much, and her self-worth is so low because Bojack was a shit father figure, And he put a lot of his generational trauma onto her. And, obviously it's not just his responsibility. He was not, like, actually her father, but, like, he knew that she looked up to him and stuff, you know? So that is kind of like somewhat his responsibility. But, you know, it was obviously more so the responsibility of her mom and her stepfather, who, like, probably took advantage of her as far as we know. Just from, you know, like the bear fur thing and everything. Also, not specifying what type of photographer he is very frightening to me. I am very worried. It's not a great sign. It's not. It's bad signs all around. So, you know, I think it would be wild not to bring that up. But, you know, we also see her stepfather accepting an Oscar on her behalf while she's on the bender that ultimately ends up killing her, you know? Like, they weren't trying to find her, they weren't trying to track her down, they didn't care what happened to her, and even after her death, they try and use it to leverage for their own success, just like they did in her life, and that is really devastating, you know? So, I do not have any notes for this one. This is just kind of like off my head. Yeah. So, that's pretty much what I have for now. I might do another part to this video. We'll see. Okay, so this is what I have right now with what I'm working on. Alright, goodbye.